What's up, Raider Nation? Big news coming at you guys today. Tom Telesco, the former San Diego Chargers GM, is the new Las Vegas Raiders GM. And we are shell-shocked to say the least. Nobody saw this coming. We predicted Antonio Pierce was gonna, get his guy, and Champ Kelly was gonna be the GM. That was what all our last few videos were pointing to, and even Ed Dodds was thrown in the mix. But scratch all that. It is Tom Telesco. Tom Telesco is our guy, and AFC West experience. He has it. He's been in the division for 10 years. Chargers went 9-7 a few years, like 3 out of the 10, and then they went 12-4, I think, once, and then they went 10-7 just year before last. So winning seasons. This guy does not miss in the draft, as we've seen time and time again. Came out with studs like Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen late, and then taking Justin Herbert in the first round. Obviously, it all adds up better than Cleveland Ferrell, Jonathan Abram, and the list goes on and on. So definitely a guy who focuses on the draft, and I think it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, and I'll start off just like everyone else. I was shocked. We had a video out saying it's going to be Champ Kelly. That was what everyone seemed to think, and all the reports seemed to suggest it was going to be Kelly. But I don't know. I think Mark Davis just kind of like you texted me earlier. You said Marky Mark is going to do Mark things. So I mean, very unexpected. But I mean, Telesco's built a good team, right? Like as much as we hate to admit it as Raider fans, every time we play the Chargers, it's like, okay, it's going to be a dogfight. Like, I don't know if we're going to win because Chargers always have consistently have good rosters, right? The last time we played them, they were depleted. I think
Yeah.
that game kind of leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth in terms of the Chargers roster. But I mean, they've had a consistently a good team, and like you said, this guy can draft. I mean, they have studs all over the roster, and it's weird too because they have I think Spanos' son oversees like the cap department. I think his name is John Spanos. So everyone says that their cap space is in hell, but I wouldn't attribute that all just to Telesco. I think that's you got to blame the Spanos family for that too. So it's going to be interesting to see what this guy does. Like I've seen a lot of things that he likes to build through the trenches in the draft, which is what we need. He's going to draft O line and D line and linebackers. So that's his focus in the draft. That's where he consistently drafts. He emphasizes that. That's who he picks. So and I'd be happy. We need more trench players, especially in our interior line and in our D line too. So I want to see how this guy can draft with the 13th pick. I mean, I think we need a quarterback in the first round, and I mean, he did get Herbert. It was kind of an obvious pick. Like I think a lot of guys would have picked Herbert, so I'll give him credit for making that selection. But I mean, we needed a quarterback, and this guy's had Phil Rivers, and he's had Herbert. So I mean, he's had good quarterbacks in the past. So we're gonna see.
He's also responsible for Tyrod Taylor's lung being punctured and by a team doctor before the game, and having Justin Herbert fill in and take over. And I think
Yeah,
they went to the playoffs that year. So I think in general, it's a good signing. Like, Graphic Raider was talking about, oh, like, how dare you, Mark Davis, hire the guy with the most like NFL AFC West experience, essentially having the most AFC West experience, having the most time in the division, knowing all the GMs, knowing all the coaches, knowing how Denver, Kansas City, Raiders, and now obviously he knows the interior of the San Diego system, and he brings that over to us, which, I mean, it's cool. Like I honestly don't think it's that bad. Some people are like super shell shocked, like, wow, like how did we get this guy out of the blue? And yes, I agree, but I think Champ Kelly might have been more comfortable in that assistant GM spot, and I think he's still on the roster, he's still on the staff. I think he stays as the assistant GM. And I think that that's a preference choice on his part, that he couldn't stand to bear all the stresses of being a GM. And Telesco has done it before. Even before the Chargers, he was the senior vice president of football operations for the Colts. And he was with Indianapolis for a long time, from 98 to 2011, which is just coincidentally the same exact years that Peyton Manning was there. And they went to two Super Bowls. They won a Super Bowl. He drafted players by the likes of Marvin Harrison, drafted Reggie Wayne, drafted Dwight Freeney, like drafted all these studs, on the Colts before even the Chargers drafting guys like Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and even on the defensive side, Joey Bosa, Derwin James. Like the talent on the Chargers team was crazy this past year. Just poor coaching, I think, and that doesn't really reflect on the GM. I think like when you have that talented of a roster and you can't win games, yes, they were depleted, but it really falls on the coach's shoulders. And Brendan Staley, I don't know if he's going to be in the NFL next year. It's not really, it's not
No,
like it right now. But overall, Tom Telesco is going to bring that edge, that competitive edge that I think we needed as an organization.
yeah, and that's where I mean I've been hammering this home is you got to hire the GM first and let him pick the coach. But in this case, I'm actually happy that Telesco didn't pick the coach because look at the three coaches he picked: Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, and Staley. So three whiffs there, and they've consistently been good, like competitive, even with the three pretty shitty head coaches. So it's better that we just have AP. And I read somewhere that AP was involved in hiring him, like involved in Mark Davis wanted to see how those guys' two ideologies would kind of meet and see if they would get along. So he was in the room when they were doing the final interview. So I think the fit with AP and with Telesco will I think it'll be fine. I'm kind of glad that like Champ Kelly, people are saying he should have been the GM, and I think you got to give him a chance to stay on your team. I don't think you want to just let him walk out the building. But it's not like he's some proven guy. Like he hasn't really done much as in his career so far. Neither has Ed Dodds for a matter of fact, right? Like he's been on the Colts. It's not like he's organizing trades and drafting players. They have Chris Ballard's doing that. He's the assistant to Chris Ballard. So it's not like he has a big role in that organization. And it's clear Mark wanted someone who had experience because with Ziegler, with Mayock, the drafting was not there. The free agent signings were not there with someone who had no experience. So I think Mark, it's a smart hire. I think you're getting someone with experience. And at least Mark, you can see the thought process with this hire. It's not like he's just going and hiring whoever, right? Like, fine, I guess GMs don't grow on trees. I'm not saying that. So Telesco's done it in the past. He's built competitive rosters, so you can just he's qualified for the job. I think it's not like he's some village idiot. So yeah,
Yeah, and obviously Tom Telesco has the experience. Obviously, he's been in the NFL for so long. And like you said, Mark Davis, like we talked about it and we actually have a short on it where it says Marky Mark will do what Marky Mark wants to do. And this was his guy. I think Marky Mark, at least this time he hired the coach like aside, like last two times he brought in Mayock and Gruden. Like, okay, he brought in Gruden with McKenzie, and then he brought in Mayock, but Gruden had all the say. Then last time Ziegler had no say, and McDaniels had all the say. And now this time, Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco will have kind of a even more of kind of a half and half because Telesco obviously has the NFL experience because he was winning Super Bowls when he won a Super Bowl as a executive before Antonio Pierce even won the Super Bowl as a player. So that kind of tandem together could prove to be, a good kind of mix. And like you said, AP sat through the meetings, like, and he sat through all the GM meetings. They wanted him to have a say. And if he agreed on Tom Telesco, then I mean they clearly have something cooking there. And I'm gonna say I think Champ Kelly's gonna stay on the roster, but Raider Nation is an exciting time. I mean, we got our coach, now we got our GM, and now it's time to look forward to, hopefully the Super Bowl being a decent game. I mean, I hope Ravens and 49ers might be a good game. Um, but after that, forget that. Getting rid of Jimmy G, that's one, and then saving some cap space in different areas, restructuring a couple contracts, and then getting into the free agency pool and hopefully landing a couple of big name free agents on the offensive line, on the, like you said, battle of the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. Our defense is pretty stacked. I mean, I hope Patrick Graham doesn't go to Seattle and be their head coach, but it's looking likely with him getting a second interview. I think it's tomorrow, supposedly. So, but Raider Nation, thank you for the likes, comments, support, and we really appreciate the subscribes. Channel is growing like crazy. I think we're up like 300% in the last 28 days. So we really appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, keep liking it, sharing it, subscribing. Every subscription it matters, right? So we really appreciate all the love, and we got our guy now. So we're gonna see.
We'll see you, Raider Nation.